Folks, welcome into That Betting Show, March 14th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. Conference tournament play underway even as we do the show. He's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. Once again, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. Last night, Teddy, Golden State getting points on the road. No KD. Oh, no, Houston. 9-game winning streak. Doesn't matter. Warriors cash that ticket as we get off and running here on That Betting Show.
Yeah, I mean, the Rockets came out flat. They talked about it after the game, saying this wasn't our best effort. And they rallied to make things very interesting late in the fourth quarter with a big 14-2 run. But it was not enough to overcome a pretty strong performance from Klay Thompson and DeMarcus Cousins dominating the low post. The way Cousins looked last night, very bad news for the rest of the NBA. The Warriors looked like a championship team for the first time that I've seen in a while.
It's a balanced scoring last night. Cousins with 27, Curry with 24, Klay Thompson chips in for 30. James Harden struggled from behind the line, but a nice win. We talk about on this show each and every day, Teddy, the money-burning squad that is the Warriors came up big last night, especially if you hit them on the money line. But today, Teddy, the big boys are now getting underplay in conference tournament action as we're watching right now. Rhode Island's on my TV. You know, you have Villanova up here, Iowa State, Baylor tipping off right now. A lot of fun to be had, but also Zion Williamson, Teddy, up and at him. Looks like he's going to give it a go tonight. Should be some fun.
Now, this is something that you can do. I can't do it. I cannot go on air when I've got games on because I'm distracted. I'm watching the TVs. I'm not paying attention. So I leave them off until I get off the air. You know, you just kind of track the scores. But I get real distracted when the games are on. So I got to focus on the task at hand, which includes talking about Zion tonight. People are asking me, how much is he going to play? How much of an impact is he going to have? All these kind of questions. And the fact is, I don't know. You don't know. Donnie doesn't know. Coach K doesn't know. All right? There's a lot of uncertainty with Zion tonight in terms of how much he's going to play and how big an impact he's going to have. Know that going in, that this is a game with, let's call it, more uncertainty than usual for Duke tonight. As for Kansas State, there's no uncertainty there. Dean Wade isn't playing. That team's not the same when Dean Wade isn't on the court. So I have no interest in laying any price with the K-State Wildcats playing without their senior stud.
Yeah, it should be interesting because obviously UVA and UNC also getting on the court there down at Spectrum Center in Charlotte. The one thing with Zion, that he's always going to capture a majority of the headlines there. But you're right. When you're trying to second guess and saying, well, what is the line movement and what should he account for in this game? Because we actually don't know, Teddy. Like if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to get the Zion Williamson the minute before he went down and hurt his knee versus UNC, that's fantastic. They should obliterate Syracuse, get back into it, and have a lot of fun. But if you're going to say, hey, Zion, we're going to play a couple-minute stretch here. We're going to get your win back in. We're going to slowly build you up over this tournament and get ready for March Madness. The line is going to impact because the public is going to see, oh, my goodness, Zion is playing. But is he playing 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 35 minutes,
And the answer is we don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think Coach K knows how much he's going to play Zion today, which leads to extra uncertainty. If you have to get an action on this game, I think there are better bets out there than Duke-Syracuse for tonight.
Yep, getting it, as I said, it is easily being distracted, Teddy, but it's a lot of fun to see, this New York City bumping right now. You got games at the Garden and across the way over in the Barclays Center, so it should be a lot of fun. But also keeping with that New York, mystique here, the New York Mets are our first look team, counting you down to opening day. It's the 14th in a week. We are going to have Major League Baseball games that are counting for real. By the 28th, the United States will get up and opening way. The New York Mets, 77-85 in 2018, 22-1 ticket, Teddy. Currently sitting there in the 2019 World Series. Total set at 88.5. It's the same things we talk about every year with the Mets. If that staff, front end of that staff, can stay healthy, they're going to be a bear. You got some nice outfielders out there. Conforto and Nimmo, two young fielders. You got a center fielder with Juan Lagares and also building in there with Broxton. Going to get some light hitting out of there, but get some good fielding. But the Mets put some components together. Go out and spend some money and make a trade for Robbie Cano. You bring in Lowry from the Oakland Athletics. They made some improvements in the offseason. But again, it always gets back to, Teddy, can that frontline pitching hold up? DeGrom, sensational last year. Let's see if Syndergaard can back him up this year.
Yeah, he was sensational and he won 10 games, which speaks volumes about what the Mets bullpen was like behind him, particularly at the end of the campaign, and a lineup that flat out couldn't hit. Now, you talked about all the money that the Mets spent in the offseason, bringing in several high-profile free agents and acquisitions. They have $162 million payroll this year. That's the highest in franchise history. They also have a new guy running the organization in Brody Van Wagenen, a former a player agent, and he's been all about analytics and bringing in, baseball prospectus guys to run the front office in New York, which is something they haven't had a whole lot. But you talk about the pitching staff getting hurt. Everyone got hurt for the Mets last year. Only the Angels suffered more games lost to injury from projected starters than the New York Mets. They were all banged up, and they're all banged up again now. Cespedes isn't going to be back till the second half of the season. Jed Lowry's already hurt. Todd Frazier's already hurt. One of the top prospects, Franklin Colomb, already missing the year with Tommy John surgery. I do worry about the Mets' health moving forward. And, of course, this is a team that's being asked to win 10 more games than they did last year, 10 and a half more games than they did last year to go over their season win total. There are things to like about New York. I don't know how they're going to be priced as a, DeGrom and Syndergaard at the top of that rotation. They're going to attract betting market attention. I'm not convinced the Mets are going to be profitable to support in 2019. It's like they weren't all that profitable to support in 2018.
Should be good. Watch that betting show. We'll take you through right up through opening day. Also, obviously, SBRodds.com, the best place to change. Watch those odds change because pretty soon, some people are still watching out there with spring training baseball, those odds changing. But get ready for the spring. It should be a lot of fun here. Also, give us a follow at SBR Sports Picks on Twitter. Overnight line movers, Teddy. Yes, the NBA is still playing, even though college basketball is taking center stage. The Mavericks total on the move. Opened offshore around 219, sitting around 221, 220 and a half at this time. Heading on with the the Nuggets, heavy favorites at -11 tonight, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, Luka and the Dallas Mavericks offense had a really rough night against San Antonio the other night. Luka, 1 of 7 shooting from three-point range, only scored 12 points in that contest. Rick Carlisle, after the game, he had a rough night. I probably played him too many minutes. He was questionable here. Looks like the markets expect Doncic to play for Dallas, and obviously that offense works a lot better. They run at a lot more pace when they have Luka running the show on the floor than when he is sitting on the bench in street clothes.
Penn State, Minnesota. We'll see them get underway a little bit later today. Total dropping a little bit. Opened up at 136.5 at Chris. Dropped to 134.5. But we have seen a rebound, Teddy, in the past 30 to 45 minutes. Back up to 135.5 across the board. Penn State favorite here, -3. Penn State playing some decent basketball down the stretch. Should be a decent tilt, 7 o'clock tonight in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, I was really tempted by the Nittany Lions in this ballgame. Didn't end up pulling the trigger. When you're talking about these favorites in that 2.5, 3.5 range, and the money starts coming on them, it gets me a little bit nervous at this time of year, especially when one of these two teams, in theory, is playing with desperation in Minnesota. Total moving down, then getting back up. I didn't see any info that showed why this total is moving where it is, but the bottom line is a group like the under, and we've seen buyback on the other side so far this morning. So the betting market's giving us mixed messages with the Penn State, Minnesota total in Big Ten tournament action.
Watching that betting show, watch what you bet today. All day long NCAA action with some NBA flavor tonight. Spotlight on Louisville and UNC in Charlotte tonight, Teddy. UNC currently sitting at -7.5 total. If we get some updated numbers at 150 to 150.5, depending on where you're shopping at. Don't have the money line numbers up in front of me. 7 p.m. tonight from the Spectrum Center. Louisville 17-13 against the spread in all line gains. UNC 18-11. You know UNC is going to pack this place. Louisville has fantastic crowds. Neutral site should be a lot of fun. Is this maybe a little bit too many points to lay on a neutral site with UNC here, Teddy?
I mean, it might be. The old joke is that Roy Williams had always said a tea time for Saturday instead of the ACC championship game. It's a North Carolina team that doesn't have a lot to play for in this tournament. They do have a potential rematch with Duke tomorrow if they can survive in advance from this ball game. And look, Louisville was able to give them a whole lot of trouble. 2 meetings between these two teams this year. Louisville played well in one. They did not play well in a 10-point in a loss. So it's certainly a Louisville team that played as well as I've seen them play in 3 months yesterday. Certainly in 2 months. They came to play. Given North Carolina's concerns at times with Roy Williams' intensity, for these games, I do worry about laying a price with the Tar Heels. The money has come on North Carolina, and it's a Louisville team that, they were -17 in rebounds the first time. They were really struggling in transition when these two teams met in February. That is something the Cardinals will have to fix if they're going to pull the upset or come close against the Tar Heels this evening.
First time in a long time, Teddy. Texas, Kansas in the Big 12 tonight tournament. Usually Kansas comes in wearing that crown saying we were king of the regular season. Let's see if we can double down and win the conference tournament and head on into March Madness. Not the case this year. Kansas currently favored by -3, actually 2.5s across the board. Total at 137.5 money line split plus 125, -145. Texas 15-16 against the spread on the season, Teddy. Kansas 12-17 against the spread on the season, but 3-0 against the spread in neutral court sites. Some suspension information. Obviously, Roach is back for Texas in this game. Can Kansas rebuild? Usually when they have this at the Kansas City, at the Sprint Center, Teddy, more of a home game for Kansas. They really bring the crowd there.
Yeah, I'm one would expect they'll have crowd support tonight, but is that going to matter? This point spread was one of those that you look at it, you're like, oh my. The market's showing Texas a lot of respect in a venue where the Jayhawks have had all kinds of success for years. And we've seen money come on Kansas this morning, and guess what? The wise guys betting it right back on Texas. Jayhawks didn't win the Big 12 this year for the first time in 15 years for a reason. They weren't as good. And, when Gerald Vick leaves the program, Azubuike gets hurt, and that's two NBA talents that Bill Self hasn't had all year, certainly for all the Big 12 campaign. Kansas is a good team. They're not a great team. And, Texas beat them soundly when they played last month. The January meeting decided by a single bucket. They got Kerwin Roach back tonight. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Texas battle Kansas right through the final buzzer, even with the Jayhawks likely enjoying the support of the raucous crowds in KC.
Friars and the Wildcats battling right now in the Garden today. It's going to go on all day long. St. John's and Marquette due to light up the Garden tonight with a little bit of offense. St. John's obviously playing some of their home games there on the big stage in Madison Square Garden outside of Carnesecca Arena. The one interesting thing about this, the line opened up, Teddy, offshore and in most outlets at -2, but it's quickly risen to -3.5. Even saw some 4s back out there, but currently right now sitting at 3.5, over under 149, 148.5, depending on where you're shopping at for this one. The one interesting thing is both games won already by St. John's. So Marquette looking to finally get over the hump. Marquette coming in on a little bit of a losing streak here, but it's not for not playing well. It's just not closing out games. Can they get to the Garden tonight? Maybe close a game out here, Teddy.
Well, Marquette, at this stage of the season, they remind me a little bit like Oklahoma did last year, where Oklahoma had a good start to the season. Trae Young was their clear superstar. Everyone deferred to Young. And by the end of the year, Young was worn down and the rest of the team had no confidence, and Oklahoma stunk. And you could bet against them game after game after game and cash in. Marquette was a great team in January. They were. Marcus Howard's been used an enormous amount, in terms of usage rates through the roof. The supporting talent around him has been mediocre. I wonder if he's worn down. Maybe Marquette gets the job done today against the Johnnies. I wouldn't bet them, and certainly not after this line move. I wouldn't bet them. The Johnnies at the Garden, they play well in this venue. They played well in this venue yesterday. They've beaten Marquette twice already this season. They beat them by 20 at home and stole one by a point, the first loss that Marquette had at home all season, snapping an 8-game winning streak. Yeah, the Golden Eagles come into this game with its triple circled. They're not playing very good basketball. Not playing good enough for me to lay a price with them on what's ostensibly a neutral floor, but will really be a St. John's crowd at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's always the tale to tell in these conference tournament plays. You're going to get the rested and ready team, or you like the team that got some momentum, played the night before, or certainly plays some of their home games there. It should be an interesting one to watch. Dipping over to the NBA, Teddy, break up the Lakers. Teddy, go over to the trash can, pull out that ticket that says the Lakers are going to make the playoffs because they're on a run. Yes, a one-game run. We'll see what happens tonight. Raptors also look to bounce back after a loss in their last game. Current line, Teddy, Raptors -9, total 231.5. Moneyline split plus 395, -470. Taking place tonight, 8 p.m., Scotiabank Arena. Lakers 9-6 against the spread, Teddy, on the road this year, while the Raptors 14-19 against the spread as a home favorite.
Sure. When you read the quotes from L.A., they're bet on quotes. LeBron James, after the win against Chicago, that snapped that skid and saved the season. They had a rally from way behind in that ball game. LeBron, quote, "We have an opportunity. We go to Toronto in our next game. We go into Detroit, who's a playoff team. We go into Milwaukee at the end of the trip. All playoff teams, all good teams. Those games will be like playoff games if we want them to be." That's an argument, perhaps, for taking the points. This is a team that hadn't won since February until they won at Chicago the other night. Kyle Kuzma, quote, "When you're losing, it's always hard to try to have fun, to embrace just playing the game. You get caught as professionals so many times in this day and age, social media, and everyone's so tight and tense when they play basketball. But, in general, as basketball players, we need to try and have fun. Play the game like we did when we were kids in high school and college. We can do that for the next 15 games, lay it all out there. It's all we can really ask for right now. So, those aren't bad quotes from LA. You want to make a case for the Lakers staying alive against a Raptors team that, as you mentioned, has struggled to cover numbers at home all year. They're coming off a bad loss. They got whopped by 25 by the Cavs the other night and lost Serge Ibaka, 3-game suspension. That means Marc Gasol back in the starting lineup for Toronto tonight, which is probably not good news for the LA Lakers.
Teddy, magnification of championship rounds as we've seen it, obviously with the Saints barking, "We was robbed," so they couldn't go to the Super Bowl. Get ready for it as the magnification takes place through conference tournament play and March Madness play when all eyes are on these games. And yesterday we saw it again with Clemson. Questionable foul coming down the stretch here. But again, I see it on Twitter, and it's a lot of fun, and I sometimes partake in it as well. I was robbed of my ticket. No, actually it was Clemson that went 11 minutes without scoring and shooting, 6 for 31 from the field in the second half. But get ready. Hold on to your tickets because you will see some questionable calls because we all, Teddy, have HD TVs. We're sitting at home. We're watching the game. We want the calls right, and we'll be a little bit jaded depending on our ticket. But there will be calls missed, Teddy, heading down the stretch here in NCAA action.
Sure. And the one good news in 2019 is that you don't have a lot of paper tickets anymore. Most people, you're doing it on your phone. But when you're at the casino and you have that paper ticket and it looks bad, don't tear it up. Just shove it in your wallet somewhere. Maybe you have a chance if they come back in the second half. Let's talk blown calls because, as you mentioned, they're going to happen. They're going to cost people bets. They're going to cost people parlays. They're going to cost people small fortunes. At times, that can and will happen. Of course, going to take from one and give to somebody else. But when your team shoots 6 for 31 in the second half, when they go 11 minutes without a field goal, sorry, I don't have that much sympathy, even though you had a big lead early. Yeah, you like it when the refs don't make dumb calls to decide games, and you wish the refs would swallow their whistles more often than they do. The refs made a bad call that decided a game last night. But from a point spread standpoint, you can't let this stuff make you crazy. There's going to be insanity. It's coming. It's already here. It's on all the TVs we're watching right now. But take a breath. It's a long day. It's a long weekend. And hopefully, if you took a bad beat or a couple of bad beats, it'll flip around. You'll get something working in your favor that doesn't have to do with a referee blowing a call.
Long day of NCAA basketball action ahead. Short That Betting Show in under 20 minutes or less, designed to get you in and out and back to your games with the information that you need. He's Teddy Safransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Rightside. Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. Exciting day on the channels. Follow SBRodds.com for every single line move. Also check out sportsbookreview.com. He's Teddy. I'm Donnie. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow to go over the carnage or the cash that you picked up in NCAA action tonight. Have a good day.